Yes, everybody, welcome back to TarHeelIllustrated.com, or, of course, if you are watching on our rapidly growing YouTube channel, that is Tar Heel Illustrated. I'm THI staff writer Jacob Turner, and joining me, as he always does, our very own publisher, Andrew Jones. And AJ here to discuss the news that broke that Armando Bacot is returning to North Carolina for his senior season next season. Big return, obviously huge news for the Tar Heels. Guy that was just a fantastic player for the Tar Heels during their NCAA tournament run, really throughout his junior season. First team All ACC. Just had a very, very good year, and obviously is a huge plus in getting him back for the Tar Heels. So before we dive into a little bit more specifics on maybe why he returned, what are your just kind of initial reactions to Armando Bacot? And we've talked about it off camera a lot. I think I already know the answer to this, but are you surprised that he's returning for a senior year?
Well, you're saying that for the sake of a podcast, but you know personally that I'm not.
Yeah.
We have the fact that we did this podcast, when we did it is indication.
They get kind of wink, wink, right?
We knew this was going to happen. Yeah, we knew this was going to happen. I have a piece ran Monday morning about laying out what's going to take place this week, and it's pretty obvious in there that strong hint was that Armando was going to return. I've felt like this for quite some time. I go back to an interview, one-on-one interview I had with him on the phone the day before they played Pittsburgh back in February, when the piece was about Armando, not just Armando's, improved drop step and stuff like that and his rebounding. It was more about him and what he wants. And the overriding emphasis from him was how much he wants to be a part of something special at North Carolina. And he got a pretty healthy dose of that with the NCAA tournament run, but he wants more. And he specifically told me he wants to hang relevant banners. He wants to win a national championship. And this is him saying this the day before the Pittsburgh game. Okay. So he knew, he knew that there was a chance this team could be pretty good this year. I think some of us around the program, even with what happened with Pittsburgh, that was maybe some second guessing there or some doubting, but they had the parts to make a run. And he was really steadfast in believing that. And he still believed it even after Pittsburgh. And I think that that's an important factor in what this team did, because when Hubert kept pushing the whole idea of them having their own memories and testimonies, the first guy, I'm not going to say the one didn't buy in, but the first guy that I'm aware of that really bought totally into it, clenched his into that was Armando. And I think part of it traces back to him being accepted into the Keenan Flagler Business School. That's when Carolina blue blood really started flowing through his veins. This young man he told me, he wants his jersey in the rafters and he wants to hang a national championship. And he basically said, and this is not a direct quote, and I'm paraphrasing, there is no amount of money that can override that. He wants to be known in the same breath as Sam Perkins. He wants to be known in the same breath as Antoine Jameson. He wants to be known in the same breath as Tyler Hansbrough. He wants to be one of those guys. He wants to leave a legacy that 20 years from now, when he's sitting 3 rows behind the bench at a game and the camera spots him at the Dean Dome, people give a loud ovation. Not because his ego needs it, because that would reflect his achievement, his level of achievement at North Carolina. He came in at 14 and 19 in a year in which he went through all kinds of personal stuff, learning how to mature. Remember the voices in his head? Mm-hmm. I talked to him about that in February. He told us in early January of his freshman year, after he had a stretch where he shot about 25% from the floor for about a month, he said he had voices in his head, and those voices were working against him. And he had to learn how to fight through that. And the maturation process we've seen in Armando since then is probably unlike anything I've seen covering college sports. One of my very favorite things about covering college sports is seeing guys mature. And we have seen Armando mature incredibly. And this decision is an absolute example of that. He's going to graduate on time, and he's going to have an opportunity without injury. He's going to leave North Carolina as its all-time leading rebounder. Yeah. That was once Perkins, and now it's Hansbrough, and it will eventually be Bacot. He's going to have a team that has a chance to win on the first Monday night in April next year. Mm-hmm. And he's going to be the front runner for ACC Player of the Year. And if he plays like he did this past year and adds a little bit more to his game, he's going to run away with the award, because this is going to be a really good team. They're going to win a lot of games. Armando has an opportunity to check every basketball an academic box that he wants to, and he'll complete that run next year with a fourth year at North Carolina. I think it's a wonderful decision for him. I think it's a wonderful decision for the fan base. It's a wonderful decision for the team. And as selfish members of the media, it's wonderful for us because he's a fantastic quote. He's a wonderful guy. And I love watching dudes get better, and he's going to get even better.
Yeah, he's definitely going to get even better. Yeah, it's huge for Carolina. We're going to keep these short, obviously. So I want to ask you, this is the last thing I'll ask you before we wrap this one up, because we've already kind of hit on what it means for Carolina and how big it is for next year's team and what it means for Armando. But how much did NIL play a factor now? Because it's obviously really wasn't a thing. It wasn't something we've ever really discussed going back over the years, because it wasn't really something you could do, obviously, with the new rules and everything. So how much do you think that played a factor in him return? I know it's not about the money and everything like that, but to my understanding, Armando can make some really serious cash if he, just coming back to college.
Well, it doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
Now, I think, I will say this is my personal opinion. This doesn't come from sources or Armando. I don't know Armando in that way. I know him as a guy who covers them, and I had that access to him at one time, which was very enlightening. I think Armando's one of those guys that would have weighed the value in coming back if there was no NIL. So he's someone that I could see making this decision in 2018, which is like way back a long time ago, right? 4 years, but it seems like forever ago.
Like forever, yeah.
When you look at how the landscape's changed. That said, Armando already was doing well. By the way, Jimmy Seafood is now in Camden Yards.
Oh, nice.
I think the local and regional NIL opportunities are a far bigger deal than anything national because of the way college sports is. And they've done well with him. He's done well with them. There will be other opportunities, but I know some people who are in the NIL business now, which is like a new business that started July 1st last year, right? Mm-hmm. The NIL industry. So I'm pretty well versed on some of this. And I was told before the run, before they went to Duke, before the Syracuse game, that someone like Armando would be looking at like maybe 350, 400,000. I have been told since the championship game that everybody on the team, their NIL value basically doubled. But Armando's went up even more, because when you go back and look at that tweet that JJ Watt put out about Armando, like mad props to this warrior, because Armando gained so much respect. And having talked to a ton of national media, not just in Philly, but in New Orleans especially, the respect for Armando because he fought through what he fought through and how engaging he was and his perspective. And it's like, here's an interview you don't want to end because you want to know what he thinks about all kinds of stuff, right? Mm-hmm. That he helped himself even more in an NIL sense. He wasn't doing that for the purpose of NIL. It's just a byproduct of Armando being who he is, what he has to offer, how engaging he is. And oh, by the way, he's an awfully marketable guy. Yeah. So I've been told here recently by very, very good source on this that he's looking at 7 figures. And Caleb Love could be looking at that. Other guys in the team. There's some college athletes. I think the Kansases, the Carolinas, the Kentuckys, the Dukes, the Indianas, those kinds of programs where the fan bases are far more rabid. I think they're the ones where players can make a lot of NIL. I think they're going to benefit as we move further into the NIL era in college basketball. It might be spread out a little bit more in football, but in basketball, it's the blue bloods. And Carolina is as blue blood as there is right now.
Yeah.
And Armando Bacot is the face of that. So I think he's going to have a very rewarding, beneficial experience with NIL over the next year.
Yeah, I think he will too. Yeah, it's fantastic news for Carolina fans. I'm sure they're ecstatic about it, and it got to be fantastic news for Hubert Davis and the program as a whole, with Armando Bacot announcing he will return for his senior season at North Carolina. If you guys want to see a little more coverage from that, head on over to TarHeelIllustrated.com. Got a couple of write-ups on that. Hop on the message boards if you are a premium member. Get involved in the chat over there. And if you're not, you can sign up for just $8.33 a month. And it is a fantastic time to do so with all the stuff going on right now. And not to mention, recruiting's a 365-day-a-year thing. So if you want some, other scoops on what's going on in recruiting right now, head on over, sign up, $8.33 a month. Link is in the description below. I've been Jacob Turner. He's been Andrew Jones. We appreciate you watching. As always, make sure you guys like the video. Let's do this. If you're excited about Bacot returning, if you're looking forward to seeing him another year at Carolina, this video should get a ton of likes, by the way. Make sure you like this video, hit that thumbs up below, because if you're not excited and you're a Carolina fan, I don't really know why you wouldn't be. Share, hit that notification bell as well. So, you know, every single time we upload, hit that subscribe button too. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks.
Thanks.